Hello, everyone, and welcome to another inspiring episode of our 5 o'clock Tea Talk series, proudly hosted by Coach Magazine Global. We've now reached our 36th episode, and today's guests bring both rich experience and grounded wisdom to our conversation, as always. I'm your host, Seda Tekeci, former editor-chief of Coach Magazine Global, life coach, and passionate advocate for meaningful personal and professional transformation. Over the past 3 years, I've had the joy of hosting some of the most inspiring voices in the coaching world, thought leaders, pioneers, and deep thinkers whose work is shaping the future of how we grow and lead. Please help me welcome Shehzaad Shams, founder of the Eclectic Leadership Movement, leadership consultant, executive coach, and organizational strategist with more than 20 years of experience leading teams and driving transformation across multiple industries and 5 continents. Shehzad's work is built on a powerful belief. Before leadership can be developed, it must first be deliberately designed. This conviction led him to create the eclectic leadership methodology, a principle-based approach that draws on a rich blend of psychology, linguistics, behavioral science, political science, NLP, and pan-cultural and indigenous leadership traditions. The methodology includes 15 structured modules and 12 consulting frameworks designed to help organizations create leadership models that fit their unique contexts rather than simply adopting off-the-shelf solutions. Holding an MBA and a diploma in modern applied psychology, Shehzad has served in senior leadership positions including COO, head of operations, and head of PMO across sectors such as iGaming, B2B technology, executive coaching, and international development. His insights are grounded not only in research and theory, but also in real-world experience leading organizations through complexity, growth, and change. Today, through the eclectic leadership movement, he challenges conventional thinking about leadership and helps leaders build approaches that are more adaptable, inclusive, and effective in an increasingly complex world. Welcome, Shehzad. How are you today?
No, thank you very much, Seda. Thank you, and good morning to you. I'm very happy, very grateful, feeling very privileged that I'm on the hot seat in this show that I've been following for the last few months as well. It's very excited. So thank you for having me today.
It's a very beautiful weather today in London. You're also from London.
Yes.
I'm so excited to our conversation. But before we dive into our questions, I'd like to invite our audience to hit the subscribe button on our channel, turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. For more coaching content, visit us at www.thecoachmagazine.com and enjoy our quarterly digital issues. And don't forget to like, share, and comment. Your engagement helps us grow this global community of conscious leaders. So I would like to directly dive into our questions because there are too many deep topics that we are going to talk about today. As you have a very eclectic background and also eclectic focus in your career.
Yeah.
My first question is many leadership programs focus on developing skills and competencies, but you argue that leadership must first be designed. What led you to this perspective, and what do organizations risk missing when they adapt leadership models without questioning whether those models truly fit their culture and context?
Thanks for that, Sarah. It's a very fundamental question that you have asked first, which makes sense. Um, Going back, this idea actually came about when I'm an IT graduate, so I've been into technology coding myself once upon a time. And anybody in the world of software development would know that design comes before development. So there's a lot of time we used to spend with the business analysts, the solution architects, the program leads, the coders, and the business stakeholders to really understand the business problem, that what exactly they're trying to do. And we used to come up with functional specification documents, technical specification before anything was done with the coding. So a lot was done in the requirements phase. After that, design, you used to get into the development, so actual coding and programming, etc. After development, it was testing, QA, and then you deliver it live, like a website or a product. So that was, I would say, that the main inspiration, that if we are able to do it in IT, why are we not doing it in leadership? So that is how the idea came about. And the second thing that I must tell you is eclectic leadership is a pain response. Before I say that, yes, eclectic leadership is a mindset, it's a method, it's a movement, but deep down inside, it was always a pain. There was a pain that I felt, there was a pain that felt by others, and I confirmed it with others, and eclectic leadership was born out of it. One of the main pain was we are always talking about developing leaders, developing leaders. Then suddenly you turn around and ask yourself, hang on, we are asked to develop our leaders, which means the designing is done by somebody else. So that led us to more investigations and queries that actually, why are we focusing so much on development first? Who is then designing it? Then it turned out that all the designing of our leadership was done by people who don't live here, who has no idea about our culture, about our context. So all the research done by the English speaking world in the UK, in America, in Canada, Australia, and there are obvious reasons for that. So that led us to the principle that no, we will not be developing leaders first. We will get into the designing the system first. So that's how it was adopted as a principle that we do designing first. Development will come as a guaranteed consequence.
Yeah, what would you say about the risks that some company organization doesn't take this into account?
It's going to be short lived. That's number one, because you, as an organization, you have adopted a leadership which or a framework which you thought is yours, but it's actually an off-the-shelf framework. Every other company or organization might be using the same thing. So that's the main problem, that it will be short-lived. It might not be able to sustain any change, any sudden change in the market or in your people come and go. But if you would have spent more time in designing a leadership system for your organization or for your community, it would have been able to withstand any kind of changes, either micro or macro. So sustainability is a key thing. The second thing is relevance.
Mhm.
If you focus only on leadership development, another disc profile, another corporate offsite, another values posters, etc., 360 degrees, it's all good. Um, and then people are asking about cultural training. It's very shallow. But when you think about a design led leadership paradigm in your organization, everybody in your organization can see their relevance to the organization's goal. And eclectic leadership makes sure that that's how it starts.
And the communication is the ground level of all the organizations. And if you are running a company who has different cultural backgrounds, the employees from different cultural backgrounds, and if they don't know what's the main rules, values of the company, it's kind of hard to adapt even with the educational, workshops about the culture. It doesn't mean anything. If you give the whole value pack, then it is better to run the business smoothly, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So you spent over 20 years building the eclectic leadership methodology by drawing from disciplines as diverse as psychology, linguistics, behavioral science, political science, NLP, and indigenous leadership traditions. What was the catalyst for creating the eclectic leadership movement, and what gap in traditional leadership development were you trying to address?
So, some stories from my growing up years. So, traveled to nearly 50 countries. So, from South America to Asia, not a lot in Africa. I would have loved to, but and then currently I speak around 10 languages with various fluencies. And I'm extremely passionate about languages, not only from a learning a language perspective, but the way it is the building block of our cultural infrastructure. Language is the infrastructure of our communities, of our companies, of our societies. So when I started to connect the dots, the similarities between languages, it became extremely important and insightful for me to understand that it's all human beings share more in common than there are differences. So the emotions that I have felt when I was traveling from Cairo to Luxor in a taxi, and the concerns shared by the Egyptian driver in terms of tourist numbers falling down or any problems in Egypt or anything, that same concern was shared by another taxi driver in China, for example, but who was speaking in Chinese and a bit of broken English. This is how I started to connect the dots that led me later to do a diploma in psychology and neurolinguistic programming, that the effect of our words on our emotions, that's all psychology is all about. So, that is how I tried to connect the dots. And then I realized that from the background that I was born in, I was born and raised in Bangladesh, then I spent 4 or 5 years in India for my undergrad. We come from a very high context environment. There's a lot going on. Too many people, population, pollution, political problems, religious problems. It's a very complex environment. And that is why the main thing that we were missing in terms of our leadership, the way we look at leading ourselves and others, the element of political science. I'm not talking about politics as such, but political science, cohesion, governance, community, that was completely missing in the way leadership development is talked about. And that was a complete no for me. That how is it when I walk into my company, I don't leave my other bits at home, although that's what the companies demand. So these are the pain that I think I started to feel, that I have an identity, and not one identity. I have got 3, 4 identities. And of course, the company is paying me for their work. But at the same time, if my other identities are not allowed to be expressed, what are you talking about? So this is how the whole gap um, came into light. 20 years it took because of a lot of imposter syndrome that I have felt myself, that, oh, well, I have received frownings, shrugged shoulders. Maybe I have a wrong name. I have a wrong skin color. I have a wrong accent, wrong everything. But then I thought, you know what? Just do it anyway. So this is how the story came about.
Yeah, I like how you underline the identities. When
Yeah.
you step out of your house, you don't leave your identities in the
No,
house, right?
no.
It's very good analogy, yes. And when you can bring all of your identities in the workplace, that makes a lot of more sense for the company. You own the company. You just not a worker there. You're like the owner of the company
Yeah,
in the mindset.
yeah,
If you can work all of your with all of your identities, I like that. It's really
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So much of what we know about leadership comes from Western management theory.
Yeah.
You described this as only one perspective among many. What are some leadership insights from pan-cultural or indigenous traditions that you believe modern organizations urgently need to rediscover?
Yeah, a few things I want to mention here is that eclectic leadership, by definition, it is diverse by definition, by design, and by default, because the name is eclectic. It does not mean exclusive in the sense that it doesn't exclude Western knowledge. So I want to be very clear that we are all educated in Western education as well, Western universities. We are not saying that anything that the West has produced in terms of leadership literature, theory, application frameworks is irrelevant. Absolutely not. What we are only arguing for is other wisdom, culture needs to have equal emphasis, not supplementary, not as a conclusion, equal. So a little bit of ikigai here and there, a little bit of kaizen, a little bit of ubuntu, and you think that you have, now you know everything. That is what we are trying to work against. That the history, the cultural tradition, the leadership wisdom you find in Africa or in China, that goes beyond any dates even the Western universities were even born.
Mhm, mhm.
This is the whole main argument. So, pan-cultural, indigenous wisdom, and also principle-based sources of wisdom as well. So, pan-cultural means east, west, north, south, every direction. Indigenous means anything from the say, for example, the African community wisdom from Ubuntu to anything from, say, Tanzania, South Africa, Kenya, Uganda. But also at the same time, you go as far as the Maori principles of wisdom that they do things, or anything in Native American wisdom, how did they do it? What about the Inca and the Maya people? How did they do things? At the same time, then the third factor is the principle-based wisdom. If anybody wants to take leadership inspiration from Buddhism, Vedic principles of Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, it is fine. It is not a problem. So this is the main thing about eclectic leadership, is that it focuses more on your overlapping sources of strength and inspiration and not division. That's the main thing. It is not about division. Now, the challenge comes in, are we talking about a random compilation of 10 frameworks from 10 parts of the world? And I'm more confused than I was even before. Like, oh my God. So you are telling me I have to understand Ubuntu and Islamic leadership and Buddhism and Brené Brown. Oh my God, my head is, and how do I now apply to my company? Not really. This is where we come in, that we are not talking about a random compilation. It's all about a cohesive aggregation, integration, regeneration of the knowledge for your context. So three things are happening in eclectic leadership. You aggregate, you integrate, and you regenerate the wisdom from these diverse sources to lead yourself and others in your family, your company, your community. That skill is a meta skill, and not everybody knows how to do it. That's why we are working with universities, with companies, and researchers to train people on this skill, eclectic skill, to really aggregate, integrate, regenerate diverse wisdom so that my mind is cohesively makes sense and I can do something with it. Otherwise, we are already overwhelmed with too many information and we don't want more confusion.
Yes, when you talk about the modern universities that we all educated in the Western universities, Western type of education, I remember just recently learned this information. The first university is built in Morocco by a woman in 10th century, in 900 years, right?
Wow.
And all the Cambridge and Oxford, Yale, all these Harvard universities adapted her style of education for the university level.
Yeah.
And that is, nobody knows about it. And even I forgot the name of the woman. My bad. I would like to give credit. I encourage our audience to go search for it. But
Yeah.
it's made, found in Morocco in the 10th century. It's amazing,
Yeah.
having this kind of foundation in the educational level. It's not that, only certain part of the world can do it. Everyone can do it in their
Yeah.
way, and then everyone else can adapt it according to their needs. As having served in CEO, head of operations, and head of PMO roles across multiple industries and continents, you have experienced leadership in environments where the stakes were high and uncertainty was constant. Can you share defining leadership challenge that fundamentally changed how you lead today?
One example that I can share with you. This is very corporate now, and you will be surprised to know, Seda, that in spite of what I've shared with you about my travel, my languages, etc., the seed of eclectic leadership was found. Like the first framework was a corporate framework. So yes, it's a bit of a contradictory, but and that framework was based on the principles of operations, project management, and delivery. So you might think that, oh my God, that sounds very corporate, because it is. So I have nearly 15 years of background in project management and operations. And in a company, we had 5 different teams in 5 different locations of the world. So we were making games in those studios. The challenge was, after a merger that took place, we had to bring together all the 5 studios. What was the problem? The problem for me as the head of PMO was that there were project managers in every studio in 5 countries. All of them are project managers, but when it comes to reporting, their standards were different. So this got me thinking, like, what do you mean? Like, all of them are project managers and they're all Prince 2 certified, PMP, everything good. And we are in the same company, same organization. But when it comes to reporting, especially very specifically the red, amber, green dashboards, what is the health of your project? Is it red, amber, and green? Different project managers interpret it differently. How red is your red? Or how amber is my amber? And that is when it struck me that actually all of us are same company, same profession, same methodology, but when it comes to interpreting, we are looking at it differently. So that got us thinking that actually we need to streamline our standards first. That what is the criteria that this is red? And if it is red, it's red for everybody, not just for you or for me, because the managers, the stakeholders will get different message
Yes.
depending on. This got me thinking. That was a turning point, which also eventually led to the fact that just focusing on project management is not enough. You have to look at what's before that and after that. So delivery was after project management. That if you have finished your project, you give it to the delivery team, they test it, they make it live for the customer. But then what happens with the product? It goes into operations because it's a day-to-day thing. And that led me to establish the troika of operational excellence, which is all the three elements work together. So that was the first ever eclectic leadership framework, that where you focus on project management, operations, and delivery together, and rest was history. So then I came after one after another based on linguistics, other models. So this was the turning point.
Yeah, but at the same time, having different interpretations gives us the richness of the thinking, like,
Right.
but yeah, it makes it difficult in the business sense. So
Yeah, I mean, if you imagine it, the other metaphor is when you're driving, it's the same thing. If you think that, oh, it's yellow, it's okay, I will just go, then you might get bumped into somebody who thought yellow was stop. That is
yes,
where, if it's a very significant, if the information is crucial, then you need to all speak the same language.
yes,
That's the thing.
yeah. So the human side of the leadership with a background spanning business operations, executive coaching, and applied psychology, you've seen leadership from both organizational and personal perspectives. What inner work do leaders need to do before they can effectively lead others, in your opinion, and why is self-awareness often the missing piece?
Last one is very important. I'll come to that. The question that you've raised, I mean, if I have to sum up eclectic leadership and how the leaders should reflect on a few things. For eclectic leadership, we work with three segments. We have eclectic education, where we work with secondary schools and business schools. Then we have eclectic teams, where we work with teams in companies and also in politics. And then we have something called eclectic legacy, which we work with people who are building and leaving their legacy. So they don't need coaching training. They're very experienced, or they are either very rich in terms of their wisdom. So we work with them. Three groups, three questions. It's not that each group will be limited to one question, but I give you three questions to sum up my main recommendation. How do I learn well? Second, how do I lead well? And third, how do I leave well? First question, people who are in secondary schools, young people in business schools, they are asking, or they need to ask, how do I learn well? How do I learn to learn well? So this is where eclectic leadership comes into action. Fine. When they move into the corporate world or business or entrepreneurship, they need to ask, how do I lead well? How do I lead myself better? How do I lead others better? Do I stop asking, how do I learn well? No, no, no. That you carry on asking the questions. And the third question that you need to ask yourself when you reach a certain time in your life or career, enough. How do I leave well now? That's it. And then these three questions need to be asked by all of us in every company. This will lead to more insights and reflections, etc. So, how do I learn well? How do I lead well? And how do I leave well? That's eclectic leadership for you. Awareness, what you said, is a prerequisite before you can become an eclectic leader as an eclectic person. We have an ABCDE of eclectic leadership is like a formula. And one of the main elements of A, the block A, is being aware that what are you aware of? Three things: the bias, the broken systems around me, and the boringness of the way I have been told to lead myself and others. Unless you are aware, you will miss it. How will you miss it? Bias is not only against you. Yes, it's easy to complain. You can complain that I'm facing this problem, that person told me this. But do you realize how biased you are? Have you ever felt that you have been biased, holding a bias against a certain community, a certain country, a certain religion? Are you aware of that? That's awareness. Second, the broken systems. What are you trying? You're trying to do something extremely bad very efficiently. Challenge it. You need to break it down and do it again. Aggregate, integrate, regenerate. And thirdly, yes, you need to look for something new, because everything method that we have been given is simply boring. Look at the quality of our leadership. I mean, many of us have stopped even reading newspapers. All of this is not possible unless you become aware. So any way you are able to increase your awareness, you have to do it as a prerequisite to become eclectic.
Yes. Awareness comes first. I like it. But about the legacy, when you said when you reach certain level, I don't no longer believe that. Our children even think about how do I live, but not when we reach certain age. Of
Yeah,
course, it's the way that we learn in our society. We
yeah,
just, have to succeed first to become someone,
yeah.
in our career, in the society. But during that process is very important. And I think, and you also have the questionnaire when people want to join the eclectic leadership that
Yeah.
make the people aware of how they live, how they, lead in their lives,
Yeah,
and how are they, aware.
you're right. I mean, we have a different take around psychometric assessments. Let's put it this way. All your disc profiles, all your archetypes, what is happening? They're giving you a label. You're red, blue, green. You're a duck, you're a horse, you're a tiger. Okay, good. I need it. I mean, I understand the heuristics, but hang on, what's happening now in the world? You're left, I'm right, you're this, you're that. We are all giving our noun labels to each other. We are reducing thousand years of civilizations to one word, or entire knowledge to one word to stop your argument. That is the noun labels. Second comes, it's better if you stop giving people labels through psychometrics and give them adjectives, which are good. Like eclectic is an adjective. Seda is kind, honest, hardworking, smart. These are all adjectives. So from noun to adjective. But you know what the best one is? If I could give Seda a verb, that Seda is focused on developing herself, or Seda is somebody who's always helping others discover their potential. So yes, it's a bit long, but that is where we should aim for. So it stands like an NAV, like a nav, and we call it in eclectic leadership. It's like a sat nav of your life, sat nav in your company, like the GPS sat nav in your car. That don't focus on the noun and start to focus on people's adjectives. But even better if you can give people a verb. So that is why find your purpose in eclectic leadership is very fundamental, that we want to ask people, what do you want? What do you want to do? What is your purpose now? We don't want to just tell you, oh, you are good, bad, left, right, blue, red. Other people can do it. But eclectic leadership wants to focus on people's actions first, their intent. I think that's where our collaboration can be more sustainable and stronger. As long as I know that Sarah wants this, and I also want that, then our differences can be put aside.
Yeah, to know how or what, to know our why, as Simon Sinek puts. I like that quote. Then it is much easier to find the way to that why. But if you don't know your why, your value, your purpose in life,
I would say that culture is something, especially cross-cultural discussions. Again, we understand it, we want to build on it, but I have grown some allergy against cross-cultural training. The reason is we need to move into more contextual training and not cultural training, because my argument is that a lot of the cross-cultural discussions primarily led from the West. It's actually reinforcing a lot of stereotypes. You cannot put 2 billion Chinese people in a diagram, or 1.5 billion Indians or 2 billion Indians on a diagram saying, oh, Indians are like this, Indians are like that. If you have to do business in China, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is very reductionist. You are reducing the nuances. So whenever I hear the term culture, I think we need to take a few steps back and understand or deal with people, individuals, as an ambassador of various, it's like a kaleidoscope. So context comes before culture. And context, as you would be aware, is an increasingly used term in the world of artificial intelligence as well. That unless your AI tool doesn't know your context or the context of your business, it will keep hallucinating. It will keep give you more inappropriate responses. If you draw the same example, being an eclectic person, that how do you relate it to your company now? Don't talk about culture based on nationality or country. That's the very 1980s. That doesn't work anymore. Even a Chinese looking person can be speaking in American accent because he's an American. You know what? So this is extremely important. That is very 1990s. So we need to treat every individual as a culture unit because they have layers of their stories, and there are lots of things that we talk about when it comes to that. That is one thing that I really encourage everybody to think about, context of an individual before you just talk about culture stroke.
Yeah, wow. Well, you talk organizational level, and also do you think it's also personal, personal level?
It is individual first.
Okay, I liked our conversation. I am sure our audience know more about eclectic leadership, and if they want to, engage more, they can reach out to you from the contact details that we put down here on this video, and droneinity.org, also the website for the more more information about the movement. They can visit the www.rononitsi.org. Is there any one last message you would like to add to our conversation before we end?
No, I just want to thank you, Seda, once again, and through this amazing interview and the magazine that you have, hopefully this message reaches out to more like-minded people who are trying to do bits and bobs from their end, make an impact. And bearing in mind, we have a movement, we have a platform where we invite other coaches and trainers and thinkers to come and share their expertise with us, because we are holding only one element of a puzzle. And we want others. That is the principle of eclecticism, that you bring your bit, we bring our bit. So there is a movement, there is a platform, and of course we have our advisory for companies and all. So I invite you and your colleagues, your friends and network through this interview to really join us with your own intellectual ideas and models and frameworks so that we can have a greater impact from wherever we are.
I'm very glad to be the Turkish ambassador of this movement.
Indeed.
Thank you for asking me. And we are having few surprises in the future, you will see. Okay, before we end the session, as always, I would like to encourage our audience to hit the subscribe button on our channel for more insightful sessions. Don't miss out on this captivating 5 o'clock tea talk. Hit the ring button and remember to subscribe for more great content. Visit thecoachmagazine.com and enjoy our quarterly magazine. Thank you so much, Shehzaad. It was a pleasure to have you in our 5 o'clock tea talk. Talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.